All right. May I invite everyone to please come inside the hall for us to start our program. Okay, good morning everyone. I welcome you all to this training workshop, Integrative Techniques for Education Advancements, Collaboration and Holistic Learning, or simply ITEACH. I am Rayhana Toke and I will be your Master of Ceremonies for today's event. To start off, may I request everyone to please stand for our opening prayer to be led by Ma'am Krisha Hazel Calizo, and please remain standing for the singing of National Anthem.
I am requesting everyone to stand up. Let us pray. Our most gracious, kind, and loving Father, Lord, thank you so much for the opportunity to learn, and may you grant us the ability to listen attentively, and may you be with us as we have this seminar with Central Mindanao University. Thank you so much, Lord, for everything and answering our prayers. In the loving name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Let us sing our Philippine National Anthem. Bayang magiliw, perlas ng silanganan, nalab ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisiin. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simuyag, sa langit mong bugaw, may dilagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kisap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning. Ang bituin at araw ng kailan pa may di magdidilim. Lupa at araw na walhati pagsinta, buhay ang langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya ng pagmay mga api, ang mga tay ng dahil sa'yo.
Take your seat. All right, once again, a pleasant day to our esteemed facilitators and proponents from Central Mindanao University and our dedicated participants and partners from Mountain View College, and to everyone who have gathered here today, good morning. It is truly a pleasure and with genuine excitement that we welcome you all here today for the inaugural phase of the Integrative Techniques for Education Advancement, Collaboration and Holistic Learning, or simply ITEACH. This initiative, I believe, marks a truly significant and exciting chapter in our shared commitment to elevating the standards of education and fostering a vibrant culture of continuous improvement within our beloved institutions. As we kick off this 3-session journey together, it's quite important that we all share a common understanding and set some clear yet encouraging expectations for what we hope to achieve. This project is designed to be much more than just a series of presentation, but rather a dynamic and interactive platform crafted for active engagement, meaningful collaboration, and transformative learning experiences for each of us. Over the next sessions, we'll be exploring critical areas of pedagogical content, knowledge, and action research across a diverse range of disciplines, which aims to equip each of you with innovative techniques and practical strategies that you can apply in your own classrooms or institutions. The very name ITEACH, with its emphasis on collaboration, speaks volume. This partnership between Central Mindanao University and Mountain View College is a testament to our shared vision. So with this, we genuinely hope and encourage meaningful discussions, sharing of best practices, and building of lasting professional networks. Your unique insights and experiences are incredibly valuable, and by working hand in hand, we can certainly achieve so much more than we ever could individually. And finally, you can look forward to sessions aiming for holistic development. This means that not just academic growth, but also personal and professional development that contributes to the overall well-being of our students and our society. We understand that embarking on new initiatives can come with questions and challenges. So with this, please know that the facilitators from Central Mindanao University and its proponents are here to support you with every step of the way. So hence, we encourage you to ask questions, seek clarifications later on, and utilize the resources provided as much as possible. Let us seize this opportunity to learn from one another, to innovate, and to collectively advance the quality of education in our own respective institutions. Thank you, and let's make ITEACH a truly impactful and enriching experience for everyone. Now, to give us the rationale of this three-session event, let us welcome Professor Cleofa P. Pacalda. Round of applause, please.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Rai. To the dignitaries from Mountain View College, colleagues and proponents of ITEACH from Central Mindanao University, students, dear participants, a pleasant morning to all of us. The demands of the 21st century education require educators to go beyond traditional teaching methods and embrace evidence-based, technology-enabled, and community-relevant practices. The ITEACH project, or Integrative Techniques for Education Advancement, Collaboration, and Holistic Learning, a collaborative initiative between Central Mindanao University and Mountain View College, is designed to meet this call through a strategically developed 3-day training workshop. At its core, this training seeks to professionalize teaching and extension work by promoting, first, research and action research as foundational tools for continuous improvement in teaching and learning. Faculty will be guided on how to systematically investigate their classroom practices, use data to inform decisions, and implement practical solutions to address learning gaps. Second, digital and technology-enhanced education, recognizing that technological competence is a professional imperative. Participants will explore subject-specific applications of digital tools, learning management systems, open educational resources, and blended learning models to improve student engagement and accessibility. Third, interdisciplinary integration, where concepts from various academic fields are connected meaningfully. This approach not only enhances critical thinking, but also ensures relevance by addressing real-world problems that cut across disciplinary boundaries. Fourth, extension research instruction alignment, ensuring that what is taught in the classroom is grounded in community realities and that extension programs are supported by data-driven research. This integration enhances both institutional impact and professional credibility. Professionally, the workshop fosters a scholarly mindset among educators, cultivating them as reflective practitioners who continuously learn, innovate, and lead. It supports institutional mandates for quality assurance, curricular innovation, and research productivity, while also aligning with national education priorities such as outcome-based education, community engagement, and digital transformation. At the end of the workshop, participants are expected to develop first, research or action research proposals for classroom or extension settings. Second, prototype digital learning materials or technology integrated lesson plans. Third, collaborative interdisciplinary project concepts. And lastly, a roadmap for sustaining Central Mindanao University and Mountain View College partnership. Lastly, ITEACH Phase 1 is not just a training. It is a professional development initiative grounded on scholarship, innovation, and service. It empowers educators to become leaders in their fields and agents of educational transformation within their institutions and communities. Once again, a pleasant morning to everyone, and let's be productive today. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you for that, Professor Pacaldo. Before we start, may we have an energy check first? Because I think sa'yo pa lang sa buntag, medyo naanay galuya. So when I say hep hep, you say hooray. All right? Hep hep? Hooray! Kusog pa. Hep hep? Hooray! All right. Now, let me introduce first our speaker for today. Ma'am? All right, our first speaker was the former principal of the Central Mindanao University Laboratory High School. She was also the former director of the admissions, scholarships, OAS scholarships, and placement office of the same institution. And as of today, she is the current Dean of the College of Education of Central Mindanao University. Please help me welcome Dr. Janice A. Tan. A round of applause for her, please.
Hello. Thank you so much, Ma'am Raihana, for that generous introduction. Former, no? Since we are discussing about former, on August 1, I will be the former Dean of the College of Education. And I don't know, and I'm excited where God will lead me to a new assignment in the university. So inana magid ang life, walang forever. Sa love lang ni God ang may forever. Amen? Okay. When we are preparing for this ITEACH program, and we are so excited that MVC is now part of our partners in LGU, and we had a talk last night with my colleague and my siblings, sisters-in-law, ingon mi nga, gamay ra siguro tao. And therefore, what I did is, I actually looked into my notes, and I did not think of revising it either on the template. And so this morning, I only knew that this will be live, and therefore I have to change the template. Because the template that I used was actually the the seal of the president, in which I cannot use live, and I have to use the new logo. So pas ganina, sige na kung abtikul kinahanglan mahuman jud ako ning new logo, because this is live streaming according to sir. Thank you so much, no, MVC. And of course, my deep appreciation to our alumnus, Sir Noy Iluna, for inviting us here in this very beautiful campus. Okay, so my task this morning is actually one of the preliminary topics in order for us to have a common understanding on a very common topic. Common ra gihapon siya, qualitative research. So I know most of you, this word is not new. And I know some of you already conducted qualitative research. Can I see a hand, please? Sino po yun sa atin na nakakandak na ng qualitative study? Case study, phenomenology. Can I see a hand, please? Okay, there's someone at the back. Sino pa dito? I will not ask question. Please raise your hand. Okay. So may familiar na with the topic. So, accordingly, we know that we can always learn a lot just by watching. Okay, that's the context of qualitative research. When you observe people, you will learn something on their behavior, on the way they act on things, the way they decide on certain contexts, and the way they perceive things. And according to Albert Einstein, not everything that can be counted counts, and not everything that counts can be counted. Tama? Yes, of course. There are things that cannot be counted but counts, like love, faith, ano pa? Attitude. Though there are questionnaires that we actually tried to develop, pilot tests and validate and test for reliability, but it would not capture the totality of that concept. And therefore, if you notice, there are studies that would entail deeper understanding of that phenomenon, and that is on the context of qualitative research. So what are the origins of qualitative approaches? So it is actually developed as a reaction to positivist philosophy, which had overrun all sciences, even philosophy itself. That is how things are being done and are developed. When there's something that person thinks need to be innovated from the existing practices, then a certain idea will come in. So inana, you know, if something is missing in the existing practice or practices or processes or systems, then we innovate. And therefore, this qualitative research is actually an answer to something that is missing in a positivist perspective. And it is a recognition that the lived world of humanity requires a different research approach to the natural world. Just what Albert Einstein had said, kasi sa positivists, we believe, and I'm also a believer of that we measure, just like academic performance of our students, we measure it by, anong ginagawa natin mga teachers? Giving them tests, di ba? And we rate them, we score them. And then we translate it into grades, and we say, this student is highly performing, this is average, and this one is not performing well, and will be performing well soon. And so we actually give judgment because we try to measure so that we can make a score or a grade to assess or to evaluate a certain concept. But of course, if you try to look at this figure, abi na ko up close kay tanong kay Panginoon. Can I go down? Okay lang? Sige. I would like to ask someone about this picture. Just one. What is your perception of the picture? Okay lang? Bright daw kung mga estudyante sa MVC, uy. Amen? Sige, volunteer na lang para nakurat mo si ma'am unless mo okay siya. Any Yes, yes. Handsome guy on my right. Yes. Come here. You introduce yourself.
I'm James Boray, and I'm a biology student. And what I can see in the picture is instead of the computer is trying to direct the user to use the mouse, the computer, but what he did is he literally used a mouse, a living creature, and smashed the window. So it is a literal way of understanding a instruction.
Okay, very good. That's a very correct observation of the picture. But do you think the person is wrong? Is the person wrong? Yes or no? Ala, wala. Dili united ang MVC? Yes or no? Balihon akong question. Is the person right in following the instruction? Yes or no? Yes. What is the instruction? Use the mouse to open the window. And that is his reality. He was not even introduced with computers yet. That there is this another meaning of window, another meaning of mouse. In our context, because we are educated and we are already introduced with windows, with mouse, with the parts of the computer, then we can say that the person is literally following the instruction. But in his lived experience and in his personal experience, he is actually right. Tama? And therefore, we cannot impose on something on someone whom experience is far different from ours. And that's the beauty of qualitative research. Your reality is different from mine. My reality is also different from mine. And therefore, we need to understand the experience, the action on the real context of the person. Amen? Oh, so di kita pwede mag-judge, no? Without knowing if that person's experience or knowledge is similar to ours. But because we are product of MVC, and we are product of an institution, and someone is behaving differently, then probably we can. That's in the quanti context, in the positivist perspective. Okay na ba tayo? So, maganda talaga ang quali, no? Okay. So, we have to understand that the two paradigms are of the opposite ends. In the philosophy, who are philosophy students here? Can I see a hand? Wala po. In the philosophy, it's actually the idealist philosophy versus the realist philosophy, the two opposing parties or the two opposing concepts. In research, quanti and quali are two opposing perspectives. But of course, there are common things. Later, we will understand what are the commonalities of these two research paradigm and what are the complete difference. Mabalik ko dito kay mapangit ako ang nawong kung muling. Thank you, Tekno. Okay. So, as I said a while ago, quantitative research is rooted in the positivist paradigm, while the qualitative research is on interpretive, I mean. So let's discuss what interpretive and positivist means. How are our researchers positivist context said? So according to them, search should act as an organized method surrounding precise empirical observations of behavior in order to discover and confirm a set probabilistic causal laws that can use to predict general patterns of human activity. That's according to New 97. So if we try to hello, di siya musugot. Hello. If we try to look at it, the rigidity is from the positivist context. So if you are doing research, most of the time, you have to see to it that your methods are already very clear and everything is already prepared before you go to the field. Tama? That's the positivist paradigm. According to them, the only way in which we can experience the real world is through our senses, by observation, by gathering empirical data that is actually experienced by the person. And of course, this research or positivist research gained dominance in the natural sciences and was later adopted in the social sciences. So normally and usually, we are so familiar with quanti. My thesis was a quanti study, is actually testing new way of doing things, like teaching mathematics using mental computation. And you have to prepare a lot of activities prior to proceeding to your conduct. You prepare and pilot test instrument. You have to let researchers, experts validate everything. Okay, however, in the other paradigm, the interpretive approach argues that research should be explored. Socially meaningful action through the direct, detailed observation of people in natural settings in order to arrive at understandings and interpretation of how people create and maintain their social worlds. So if the positivists would love to understand phenomenon because they want to know causal effect, to understand and predict the future, then in the interpretive perspective, it's a different way of doing research. They want, or we want, to directly observe people so that we are able to understand them in their contexts. So we use methods that try to describe and interpret people's feelings and experiences in human terms rather than through quantification and measurement. And there is another beautiful research paradigm that is now gaining popularity, the mixed method. Hindi namin napasama sa aming conduct. But there's another beautiful one, a mixed method research design, combining the strength of the quanti and the quali. So these are the glaring difference between the positivist and interpretive perspective. So for the positivists, they want the discovery of universal laws, while the interpretive perspective, discovery of how people make sense of their social worlds, that's their main goal. And then of course, they want to know the existing realities based on varied human experience. Their context is human behavior, and using of common sense is their main way of doing things. On the other hand, for the positivists, aside from discovering the universal law, they want to see things that exists, that can be measured and can be described. And for them, human behavior is both rational and predictable. Inan ang ilahang way of understanding people. And of course, they believe that we can uncover the truth. If we can see patterns, then we will know that if we put things like this on this group of people, then someday, somehow, it will result the intended outcome that we would love to produce or to reach. Pero mura ganahan, taan na ang context, no? You know? Because we are actually trained in a quantitative mindset. We have to know that we can measure something. But of course, when OBE, the outcome-based education, was introduced to us, we are able to actually do a little of quanti, the performance-based, the rubric, and the authentic assessment that we do with our students. That's this a quali, I mean. Okay, another one is, according to the positivists, we discover social fact by achieving things through reason, through empirical observation, and its objective, value-free study that is crucial in social research. For the interpretivists, they want to understand the social reality by actually describing the context in a very detailed manner. And it should be in the context of the person or the people or the participants that we want to study. And we recognize subjectivity in our output. Okay, so what are the elements of the research process? We have to understand the deductive and the inductive reasoning. So for quantitative or for the positivist perspective, we are using the deductive thinking. From theory, we hypothesize, then we observe the phenomenon, and then we confirm. That's how we do things. For the qualitative perspective, we observe, we look for patterns, we hypothesize, and we create theory. So that's the difference between the thinking of the quanti and the qualitative. But you have to understand also that in the quantitative perspective, they also have theory building, the regression, the modeling, the causal modeling, and the structural modeling. In the grounded theory or in the qualitative perspective, we also have way of creating theory, the grounded theory methodology. Okay. So because we already compare the positivist and the interpretivist perspective, now it's very clear that we can also compare the quanti and the quali in a very specific sense. So if we try to check this out, so on the screen, we can see that, of course, they are not totally opposite, but they have different contexts and different focus. I will not simply enumerate all na lang, no? So sa quanti, statistical analysis is the way of analyzing data, but in the quali, it's more on thematic analysis. There is an instrument that we'll be using, but in the quali, researcher is the tool, the best and the important tool in data collection. Quanti is very highly structured, while the qualitative research is loosely structured. Later, you will understand why it is loosely structured. For the quanti, it is you or we researchers are actually detached. We just float questionnaire, and then we can actually go back and retrieve the questionnaire. But for the qualitative study, you have to be there to do interview, to observe, and then to take down notes on how people live their lives on the context of the things that we want to understand through our research investigation. Okay, quanti is result-oriented, while qualitative study is process-oriented. Quanti is more on particularistic and analytical, while quali is holistic. Quanti is more objective from the outsider's view, while quali is more subjective. It's in an insider's view. And quanti would love to generalize things by simply conducting research in a sample population, but quali would love to generalize, but it's in the specific context of people that we would love to understand. Okay, so this is, I just would like to emphasize this, no? So though the quanti approach attempts to understand social phenomena through largely quantitative means, and the interpretive approach mainly through qualitative techniques, I just would love to emphasize this. It is important not to overemphasize the difference between these methods. So though we compare, but we will not overly emphasize. Just like two people, sometimes we compare, we will not overly emphasize because we know that people are unique, methods, approaches are unique, and they are important and necessary depending on the need of your study. So if you want to investigate large population because you want to come up with a model and there's a number that you would love because you love numbers, then you can do quanti. And it's okay, no problem. If you want to deeply understand situation in a specific context, then you do quali. Because both type of research studies or phenomenon or paradigm are significant and important. Okay. So, again, no? We know that qualitative research is commonly called as interpretive research. And of course, when we do qualitative study, we expect a voluminous paper. Ma'am Tess Boras did her dissertation using interpretive research, and it's actually phenomenology using sa language man si Ma'am Tess God. Language documentation, and I also did my dissertation in a qualitative paradigm, and it's more on grounded theory. Later, I will be sharing part of my paper or methods that I use. So we already know that. So we will proceed. I only have limited time. Kinsa mong timekeeper da aria? Okay, na-overemphasize na ako na ganina. Okay, so what are the essential characteristics of qualitative research? So if you wish to conduct a study because your concern is to understand a certain phenomenon or a certain event or a certain situation or a company or a school or a certain behavior, then you can do your research in a qualitative perspective. Or if you wish to assume multiple realities, because that is the characteristic of qualitative research, you are actually be faced with many verbal descriptions, and you will be immersed with data, and you have a lot of contacts with your participants, kung sa quanti pa kay respondents or subjects. And of course, your data collection is very highly interactive, and from time to time, you can switch from data collection to analysis. Then after thinking, oh, something is wrong with my data, then I can go back to my participants to actually interview her again, to validate or to clarify things. And then, data collection methodology evolves, and it's flexible, tentative. And that's the reason why if you do a qualitative study, because it's holistic, it's very context sensitive, and you want to become familiar with a very strange phenomenon because you rather would love to understand the situation in the context of the person or based on his or her experience, then you are supposed to be on the ground, to be with them. Kinsay familiar sa movie nga Avatar? Can I see a hand? Avatar. Katong first bitaw nga Avatar 1 to siya, ma'am, no? Avatar. The target of that person, of the scientists who actually send the blue avatar to that specific context kay para mapahawa to sila, di ba? Kay that tree, katong big tree nga ilang gaampuan, has many rules that if the government or that scientist will be able to get, murag grabe jud kaayo ang impact sa economy. So gisend nila ang isa ka avatar na fail kay full daw to siya, and send another one. Siya kay willing man siya to understand. He was able to understand because he lives with the people. Na in love siya sa isa. And therefore, he was able to understand that that tree means a lot for that group, for that tribe. And therefore, imbis ipaadto siya, ang iyahang, his main goal is to allow those mga people to go out. Siya na hinon ang nakig-fight sa ilaha. Mura siya quali gyapon nga study. When you do a qualitative study, you are able to understand. The moment that you will talk to them and understand, then personally you will also be shaped by your data gathering. And of course, its sampling is purposive. Unsa ganito sa quanti? Random. And we have gatekeepers. We have to follow certain protocols if you want to enter into the gate, or if you want to study in a very, especially sa IP group, sa tribe, so we have to follow their protocol. Okay. So what are the appropriateness of qualitative research? So if you think that your study can be best understood, or your investigation can be best studied without quantifying, then you can do qualitative study. Okay, and it's best to be understood in a natural setting, and variables can be studied over time. And then, of course, when you want, your objective is understanding, not predicting, not quantifying, nor looking into the causal and the relationship between variables. However, if you want to study on why is it that when my students do this, inanidan ang ilang outcome. So you can actually do a quantitative study, and then if you want to deeply understand them, then you can do mixed method study. What to observe or study in the quali context? Behaviors or practices, episodes or common events, like how certain family overcome death of a loved one. If you want to deeply study that and understand this certain phenomena, then you can do quali. If you want to study about encounters, how people interact, say for example, wedding ceremony of a certain group, why is this inaniman ang mga symbols, nganong na ay aras, nganong na ay ana, what's the meaning of all these things? Then you can do qualitative study. And if you want to observe or study about roles, why is it that in a certain group, their way of their managing a group is highly patriarchal? Why? If you want to really understand and do a qualitative study, why is it in this kay okay ra sila? Okay ra ang mama ang mag-decide, okay ra pod nga both or ana. So you can also do a qualitative study on that. And of course, relationship. If you want to study about relationship nga dili tong relationship nga effect positive and negative. Ma'am, ningon ka ganina ma'am, when you want to study this context of relationship is a different thing when I say relationship dito sa quanti nga perspective. The quantity relationship is when a variable increases and another variable increases. What is the relationship? Positive, no? When one variable increases and the other variable decreases, the relationship is negative. If you relate it into the context of quali, nasa similarity actually. When you're friends, you go together. When you're enemies, you will not go together. You go to opposite direction, di ba? If there is zero relationship, okay lang, wala siyang anak lang. O, nagipon siya, na sila relationship gihapon. Na ay association. Na ay certain thing that you can relate. Ma'am, unsa gyud ni siya nga relationship roles. if you want to understand how a certain PWD like me, like Ma'am Tess and Ma'am Jenny, we are PWDs already, overcome challenges and struggles of our operation, and when we go back to our designations, murag wala lang, then we can also do a study about that. Okay, people will not understand your physical and your struggles. Kay tanaw ra gid nila kay PWD din na sila. Gwapa kaayo mi pero mga PWD mi. And we enjoy the 20% discount already. Sayo ka mi naka 20% discount. And we actually love to go to Manila. Ask me why. Ang 300 nga ramen, 100 ka pin ra among bayaran, di ba? Exciting. Nawala lang akong ID, kinahanglan makita gidagot to siya. So, if we do investigation, what are the qualifications? Sunod qualifications sa mga investigators. So again, these are the things that we need to embrace if we want to do qualitative study. We must have a requisite knowledge and skills about methodology, setting, and the nature of the issue. So when we do qualitative study, we just not simply say, I will do qualitative study, ma'am. Then we directly go to the field and interview and do no, it's like that, because there are different approaches in qualitative research. Basin mingon mo ba nga magkwalita ko, ma'am? Doon ako dito, interview na ako dito, kwali na ni ma'am. Oh no, we have to have a requisite understanding and skills on the varied approach, because different way of doing qualitative research require different methodology, require different way of gathering data, require different triangulation technique, and even data analysis. So kinahanglan taani, we need to understand. So if you wish to study why MVC, kay mag-top 1 man ni sila sa grabe kini silang performance sa nursing. Di ba? Walay palakpak dara. Palakpak ka, di ba? Grabe. If you wish to understand why Mountain View College aced in the nursing board examination, you do qualitative study. But you have to understand, unsa ka nga qualitative study ang ako ano? So you read about different approaches of qualitative. Some of them we will have an overview. And then we must be familiar with our own biases, our own assumptions, our own expectations, and our values. Because when we will be on the ground, basin ang imong madunggan ang imong self. Dili nimo madunggan ang istorya sa participants. Lahi na din imong pag-analyze. So you should know your bias. Bias ra ba ko ani nga context kay nahanglan jud ko mag-step back, mag-bracket, mag-do some epoche. Kay murag basin ang akong self, ang akong madunggan, and when I put a code and a theme and a category sa answer sa ako ang participants, ako ang akong nadunggan. No, it's not about you. It's about your participants. So you have to know yourself before you go out on the field. And you must be emphatic, intelligent. Intelligent, matatanan, di ba? No questions asked. Energetic and interested in listening. Kay dili nimo pwede putlon ang imuhang interviewee. Lami na kayang storya ni kajut lang ma'am. Question number 2 na tan. ma'am kajut lang ma'am, pwede ma'am kanang short ra gid imong pagtubag na siya. So you should be emphatic, especially if you want to understand a phenomenon on kana bitang how you are supposed to overcome loss of loved ones. Unya, emotional ba ya ang mga tao maghilak? Ikaw po, muhilak na po kag-apil. Emphatic, yung ka, lisod kayo nga, naghilaka na imong kuan mo, hindi kag, ma'am, ayun, naghilak-hilak, ma'am, number 1 pa ba ya ko, ma'am? Ma'am, I have 10 questions, number 1 pa ko, ma'am, ay sa hilak-hilak, ma'am. So we must be emphatic. And later you will know na tubag na din niya tanan. The rest of your questions from 1 to 10 with your main question. Hello, natansira naman rin. Di naman rin kumu-question ani. Oh. Abtik ka, intelligent ka kay, uy, number 10 man ako itong question, pero iyan ang na-share. Sige rin yung storya, sige rin yung kagpaminaw, and take note. Ano, yes ma'am? Do you mean? What do you mean ma'am? All you have to do is verify, scaffold. Sus, isa raman na imong question dapat niya. 10 pa imong gibuhat. Nastorya na niyang tanan. 1 hour, igo ra ka na, minaw, and scaffold. So not necessarily nga you will throw all the questions. Because later on, nastorya na dahil niya, tanan. Oh. Kinsay makarelate, kinagkwali diri. Diba? Okay. And of course, you must be open to embracing multiple realities. So when you ask question or instruction, just like ganina, use the mouse to open the window, ayaw igna nga sayop siya. Okay, that is the reality of the person. Mo giniihang reality. He knows the mouse, the real mouse, and then of course, katura po diyang window nga nailhan, so muna ang iyaha. Sa akong reality, I'm not following instruction. Diba? In my reality. Because I know that sa computer na ay Windows. Unya katong hawiran diri mouse. Diri ana. Pero sa iyang context, he is right. Disura no? Ma'am, lipong mo din kwali. Dili, okay ra siya. We can do qualitative study. And you must be prepared to produce detailed, comprehensive, and most of the time, kini sometimes, dili ni sometimes, most of the time, lengthy reports. So if you happen to see thesis or dissertation nga baga kaayo, actually most of them are quali. The main parts are just actually very nipis, but the appendices are very makapal. That's the audit trail. Okay, so what is now the working framework of our qualitative research design? So others, example, in your context, probably you already have your own format. But this is the general working frame. So you should have an initial focus. You should have the problem already, a phenomenon in question. And then you have to do a background check, entry, exploration, and do closure. You have to plan to identify settings and data sources. Plan for the logistics for data collection and analysis, and plan for ensuring trustworthy. So this is a general phases in qualitative research. Is cyclical. Sayop akong natuplok. Here, this one. So when you do qualitative research, first is of course you conceptualize and plan study. You have to use literature, formulate study purpose or question, identify study sites, settings, where and how data collection will occur, and participants, and the entry to setting, or how you are supposed to ask from the gatekeepers that you can now proceed. Kaya basin masala tabang, kalit lang tani adto dito, we don't actually ask permission. Or say for example, we float questionnaire sa MVC, unya taas dire ka inyong process for IERC or IERC mangguna sa amuan sa CMU, probably in your context is a different name. Ethics Committee. Na mo Ethics Committee, right? Can I see the hand being before mo do sa inyong thesis o dissertation kay you will submit your methodology and one committee will check if kompleto na ang inyong mga requirements. Kinsay by the way, kinsay na naka-thesis daari? Can I see a hand? Ongoing mag-thesis. Humana og thesis. O, di ba? Daghatag agian no nga committee. so that we are able to have a clearance. Okay. And then you start with your study. Here in the quali, I already said this, there's a concurrent data collection and analysis. What does it mean? You can actually do collection and then analyze, and then collect data again and analyze. I will have a diagram showing that later on. And then analysis focus on identifying themes and categories, similarities in the data. The most common way of doing this is in the quanti, if we want to associate, in the quanti, di ba, we have descriptive statistics? Yes or no? So what are the descriptive statistics? We have the mean, median, the mode, the standard deviation, the variance, the frequency, the percentage. That's in the descriptive, no? The lower level of describing in the quanti. Next is relationship. Tama? Relationship. Unsa atong gamit sa relationship? Kung, i-discuss man ni Ma'am Jess on niya. Ako lang i-relate. I will relate it to quali. In the relationship, we have Pearson R, kung interval ratio ang atong data, Spearman-Rowe, kung rank ang atong data, Tau-C or chi-square kung mga nominal and ordinal ang atong data, or a mix of it. And then when we do modeling, regression, what variables predict performance? Prediction, that's regression analysis. If we do a higher one, causal and structural. In the quali, in the analysis, the main is coding. You code, munang descriptive niya, coding. And when you go higher to relationship, you do category. Katong mga initial ni mga codes, imong igrupo, i-categorize. And then kung maghimo na dayon ka ang themes, categories and themes. And then kung maghimo na din kag prediction, mo na din tong naa na kay thematic nga naggrupo-grupo na, naghimo na ka og diagrams, a framework. That's how associated quanti and quali is. Okay. Questions or purpose may emerge and be defined. And then sometimes data collection may change. And then the third one, sampling and data collection determined by theoretical saturation. Ma'am, that's why always ni sa nga question when you do quali. Ma'am, pila gyud ay kabuok ang sample, ay ang participants. I will throw back the question to you if you will ask me that question. What specific qualitative approach are you going to use? Who's the proponent? What is his proposed number of participants? Mura gyud na, I will throw back the question to you. You have to read again. Read and read. Mingon din ka, ma'am, according to Mustakas, ma'am, kay 6 is okay. Ma'am, according to Husserl, according to kinsay known kaayo gani nga qualitative researcher nga nasa libro? Letter C, Creswell. According to Creswell, ma'am, kay 5 minimum or 6 minimum, okay na, ma'am. Basta you can defend. Pero dili, you will never know pila gyud ang imuhang participants unless you are done with your study. Working ra na siya nga number. Dili ka mo stop, kay niyong kag 6 ra, pero naa pa kay gusto investigate or there are things that you need to be clarified. Yaningon man ka nga 6, mo stop with the 6. No, you can proceed. Pero ningon kag 6, pag abot nimo og 3, tan-aw nimo kay nibalik na ang tubag ni number 1 o ni number 2. When you interview number 3, observe number 3, and have number 3 validated his or her answers or responses. Na-capture na, so you stop with the 3. Ask me why. your first participant selection is very, very good. That's why it's purposive, and you have to identify the very experienced first participant. Di ba? Inana dahil siya, ma'am. Yes. Okay. Ana siya. So what are the common qualitative research approaches? We have the following: case study, ethnography, phenomenology, and grounded theory. And each approach has different types. So, si case study na po na siya lahi nga mga type. Si ethno na po siya lahi nga type. Si phenom na po siya lahi nga mga types. Si grounded theory na po siya lahi nga way depending on the proponent, and therefore you have to read literatures and studies in which you think can be best used in your current investigation. So that's why. Okay, so case study. So it is an in-depth study of a particular situation. It is a method used to narrow down a very broad field of research into one easily researchable topic. So specific yun siya. So when your panel will ask, why is it that your research topic is very specific? Ma'am, because I am using case study. If your panel cannot understand, then you have to understand. It's the same with the picture. Walay reaction, walay nag-smile, wala gyud reaction. Asa to giingon ako? If your panel has a negative reaction in your way of doing things, you have to understand. It's the same with the picture. Lahi ang iyang reality, lahi ang imo. Okay? You cannot insist. But you have to understand that that's the perspective of your panel, and therefore you try to convince and present. Try to understand. Respect. Dili nimo murag sukul-sukul juga, no. It's not the way things are. Okay. This research design is also useful for testing whether scientific theories and models actually work in the real world. And it is an ideal methodology when a holistic, in-depth investigation is needed. Okay. So, say for example, ma'am, pwede day kong mag-case study about isa ka situation. Or kato kong gingon ganina, it can be a case study. The case of Mountain View College. Understanding, or say for example, why your question is nga naman yung ang School of Nursing kay grabe gid kaini sila o gano. Pwede nimo siya a case of kay pwede mo ang case isa ka school. A case is one person. A case is a group of religious organization. A case is the Philippines. You can have case like that. Dili siya case nga isa ra gyud ka case sa beer. Oh, sorry, education. Isa ka case sa Pepsi. Ay, sorry, kanang nag-advertise di ako. Sorry. Erase. Di basin ang case ba? Di ba? What is your study? Kasi mong gamit case study, ha? Case. Research din ng case. Kung libawaan nga case, kay ka na magpalit mang kog soft drinks. Pero tinuod na siya. That's the reality. So, nag-una-una na ko, no? Human na. And then, what is the purpose of case study? To understand what is going on in the situation or with respect to a problem that is being studied. Why is this happening? Ano man jud ni, dili man gyud namo malumbaan ang MVC sa mga nursing. Tama ba ko, Sir Noy, no? Number 1 mo sa nursing, di ba? Unsa pa yung number 1 gani? Ha? Education? Ano nangatawa mo? Ha? Hapit na, kanahan ko. Appear. That's our dream, no? And of course, why this is happening? and how the various aspects of the case relate to each other. I am also the current Dean of Education, and I have the same kanang dilemma with Sir Noy. We really would love to be like your School of Nursing, like our College of Nursing in our university. Pareha man sila mga ga-ace sa board exam. And so I do an informal qualitative study, no? Why is it that nakita na ako. The number of takers are too different. Theirs is small, whilst are big. Our nursing is young, ours is old. We can hardly trace back our retakers. So I feel safe. Kada qualitative study ko nga, informal. So having a 90% average for first-time taker is already good. Because tracing back history, we cannot actually identify who are those prospect teachers who would like to take the lead. Pareha may struggle ani ni Sir Noy. Kung saan ka na mo among mga retakers nga maingnan nga, ayaw sa mo retake please. Pwede anhi sa mo sa among school, then mag-review sa ta before you. Because retakers pull down the performance of the school. Makapull gid sila. You know, in our recent performance, our first taker is 90.82. Our retakers is there as a 45. So it pulled down our average to 80 something. Pero among first timer 90, my God. Dako kaayo, no? But of course we have to understand nga dugay pud sila naka-take sa exam. So beautiful. Being in a qualitative paradigm is beautiful. Ask me why. Because you are shaped with the data, you are also actually becoming a better you. Because you are understanding person. You will not quarrel with them because you can understand, oh, I believe na siya struggle. Kung ako pa ni siyang kasabaan karon, madugangan ng iyang struggle. You embrace the person for who they are. And understand, and we cannot impose what we believe into them because they are coming from their own context and their own reality. O diba, daghan kay type sa case study. We will not discuss all of them, but you can actually look for them and ask, dili pwede i-mention, no? Ask artificial intelligence on how to use this. So in ethnography, from the word ethno, you want to understand behavior of people. So if you want to understand a certain practices of indigenous people, you do ethnography. Okay. Because you want to understand the way they behave, why they are doing like this, why in the morning we are doing like this, how and why. We have to understand. And then phenomenology. It is an approach to qualitative research that focuses on the commonality of a lived experience within a particular group. Unsa kalainan sa ethnomam o sa phenom nga behavior man gihapon tong ethno. Ang phenom kay live experience man gihapon, di ba murag relate gihapon siya sa behavior? Oh. What's your answer? Ethno is more on, from the word ethno, ethnography. Ethno. The origins, the human behavior, the way, why, and how. Here is how we live. Say, for example, if you want to understand the lived experiences of female leaders, and how they overcome challenges for being a wife, a mom, a daughter, a sibling, and all, then you can do phenomenological study. Mingon na ba din ang mga husband nga, why is it that there is Women's Month? Why is it that every Mother's Day kay bibo, pero ang Father's Day kay dili bibo? You can do a research on that. Why kaya? No? I notice also, during Mother's Day, grabe kabungga ang occasion. Observe gayon mo sa inyong family. Pero Father's Day gani, tanawa ga ninyo. No? Oh, why? Why are we behaving like that as Filipinos? So we can do, why we live like that, no? Okay, you can do a research sa nga inana. Okay, it seeks reality from individuals' narratives of their experiences and feelings and to produce in-depth descriptions of the phenomenon. Okay. Wala pa ko'y time. Okay, so for grounded theory, it is an inductive approach to research whereby hypotheses and theories emerge out or are grounded in data. So, muna siyang equivalent sa kang Sir Noy nga structural modeling when he did his dissertation on structural. So, in the quali perspective, you can do grounded theory. There are many types of grounded theory as well as phenom. Wala lang na ako gi-highlight, no? There are many types of ethnography and phenomenology. There are also different types of grounded theory depending on the proponents. The very old one or the classical one is by Glaser and Strauss. And the modified one is by Strauss himself. And then we have already constructive grounded theory. We have Strauss and Corbin. We also have feminist grounded theory and postmodern grounded theory. And there are a lot of proponents. You have to know whom you are supposed to use. Understand, children? Oh, you should know kinsa because if you will ask or if you would invite me as one of your examiners in your defense, my first question will be, what specific qualitative research did you use? You answer, ma'am, it's a case study. Who's the main proponent? How about your data analysis? Whose proponent are you using? Ana, yun na siya. Pag di ka katubag na, unsay advice? Redo your paper. So you have to know whom shoulder of giant you are standing on. Again, you should know whose shoulder of a giant you are standing on. Para di ka matumba. Bahalag bali-balihon pa ka. Mayon din ka, ma'am, according to Mustakas, ma'am, according to Creswell, ma'am, according to, nagyog kay according to. Sa kada question, according to. In every question, you have a reference. Okay, so how do we select participants? So the goal is to set the deepest possible understanding of the setting being studied because we want to deeply understand a phenomenon and therefore a very crucial way or method or process or step that we have to undertake is to select participants. So we have to identify participants, that's, diingon na ako ganina no, advanced kaayo, that can provide information about a particular topic and setting being studied. So say for example, you want to study about leadership, women, or a woman leader. Ayaw pag iselect ang lalaki. Kay woman man ang imuha. Oh, di ba? Ana siya. Dili lang bisang kinsa. You cannot also select someone nga nag-lead bag-o lang. Kaya you want to understand the deep experience. So, si Ma'am Tess, yun na ang pinaka-qualified. If you want to understand woman leader in the university. Kay hurot na niya tanan offices sa almost na, ma'am, no? Almost na. President na lang siguro kulang ni ma'am o VP ani. Oh, so inana siya, you have to select a participant who can provide you a lot of information that you want to understand and know. Okay. So what's our sampling procedure in the quali? Hi. What's our sampling procedure in quali? Nana ang tubag sa kuan man. What's our sampling procedure in the quali? Okay. In the quanti? random. Anyone. Kay ang gi-believe ni Kwanti kay everybody should have equal chance to be part of the investigation. Kay ang assumption ana, in the cake, kung asa ka nga slice, parehas gyud naglami tanan. Random. Di sa kilid or ana. But in the quality perspective, dito ra ka sa, kung imong studyhan icing yun imong piliun. Kung imong studyhan ang mga flower dito, si flower ra gyud imuhang ipik. Oh. Okay? Next, what's the differences between random and purposive sampling? Okay, so in random, i-explain na po na ako, no? In the context of a cake. Advance man kay si ma'am. Di na ako. Inana, yun na, no? So how is sampling being done in qualitative study? Okay, sample size is always determined by the analysis. Unsa gali ito nga term? It's saturation. So when your panel or somebody will ask you, why is it that your sample size is this one? What's your answer? Ma'am, after interviewing 3 participants, my data or the things that I want to investigate is already saturated. Kana ra gyud siya. If somebody would ask you, why 3? Why 6? Why 9? Why 10? Pero sa mixed method, lahi po dihang context, no? Sa other methods. If you do, kung naa kay preliminary, say for example, you are doing a qualitative study but you have a preliminary identification kay, ma'am, I want to study on students, how mathematically brilliant students do problem solving at home, in school, and everywhere. Now, you don't have idea man who are the mathematically brilliant students. So the first thing you do is nag-float ka o tested ng problem solving exam. Imo silang gipa-exam, tanan. Then katuda yung pinaka-top nga bata, atong top 5, mo to sila imong interviewhon hangtod top 6 or hangtod ma-saturate yun ang imuhang data. When you interview the top student, daghan naman kayo na siya iyaw-yaw, no? Interview din ka, kay pinaka-top ba siya? Number 2, maingon din kag ni balik na normal na siya. Mo repeat ang answer ni number 2, ni P2 kay P1 because P1 is the brightest. So meaning you can really gather a lot of information from P1. When I interview P2, ni kag hala, uy, mura man gyapon, pero naay gamay nga nadugang, ay salamat may na lang. Pag P3 na ka, hala, wala na ko'y nadugang kay nakuha na nila gihapon tanan. Pag P4 na ka, nibalik na gihapon. So that's the time that you will stop. Pero ningung ka 6 ang imuhang interview. Kay nagkuha ko ma'am sa taas, sa middle, o sa low. Pero actually si low, makapture na ganyan ang tubag. Si middle, makakapture sa tubag ni low. Pero tagaan lang yun nato sila pod og chance nga mustorya, no? O, ano siya. Pero ma'am, what if my study is about struggles? Struggles man yung study. So, dili ka mag-study atong mga number 1. So, ang imong studyhan, ang katong low og score, di ba? Nadobi kay struggles imong study, nya top man ang imong nawa na. The selection of the participants is already illogical. Struggles of students in math. Unya imong igistudyhan kay ang top 1, wa pansit ra kay pag storya ni teacher kay masulod na din humana dayon. Sila ra ni teacher ang nagstorya. No, have you noticed that in a classroom? There are those classmates nga sila lagi magkasinabot sa imong math professor. Naagyo inana. In the normal curve, there are few in the extreme, both streams, and we are many in the middle. We are many in the middle. Only few are them on the extremes. So, okay. Next, this must be differentiated from participant saturation where the researcher cannot drag anything new out of the, explain na po na ako. Okay. So what are the ethical considerations that you will actually observe while doing qualitative study? Actually, similar to quanti, we have also the following considerations. No, we ask permission if we will borrow or adapt or adopt an interview protocol. Adopt, O, kopyahon tanan. Adapt is we modify, and then specify what part did you modify sa iyahang instrument or sa iyahang protocol. You have to seek permission. Ma'am, how about Ma'am Kay? Nakita na ako siya sa internet. And then I cannot actually ask the author na. You have to really seek permission before you actually use. And then, seek permission to conduct the study. If you are a student in MVC and you are conducting a study here, so you follow what are the processes that you have to undergo so that you can conduct your study. Follow protocol. You have to let our students, especially below 18, sign assent form. Pero participants nga 18 and above, you let them actually sign a consent form. And then you maintain confidentiality of data or else, makasuhan ta. Observe anonymity of the participants. Observe professionalism in the conduct of research. Sometimes makalimot ra ba ta, no? 10 minutes? Okay. So these are the type of data collection that you will be using. Ang uban ani details dito na siguro sa parallel session, no? We have observation, field notes, interviewing or interview, focus group discussion, and document analysis. So document analysis ang gigamit ni Ma'am Tess. And there are also different kinds of observation. We have the following: the participant observation, a new role to study, the existing role to study, overt, covert, obtrusive, and unobtrusive. So, and there are these also strategies. So, ma'am, besides observation, na strategies, no? So, you should know about them. Dili na ka basta-basta mag-observe. And there are structured observation. You can also have checklists and some parts of the how you actually document your observation. And we also have field notes. Kiunsa nimo pagdu ang imong field notes? There are this. You can record. But before you record, you ask permission sa mo view kay wa na mi kabalo na record na din among giyaw-yaw. Human nag-record, paingon nga, ma'am, gi-record ba yan ako ang imong giingon. You ask permission before you record the responses. And then you have visual record photos and some of the field notes. And then we have 3 interview series. Interview 1, a life story. Interview 2, details. And then interview 3, reflection on the meaning. That's according to Sedman in 1988. And there are also different types of interviews. We have structured, semi-structured, informal, and retrospective. So kinahanglan po, you know what interview type are you going to use. And then this is very important. I just would like to emphasize this. Bahalag ako ng laktawan tong uban sa ubos. This is very important way to, when you do qualitative study, you have to ensure triangulation. Later, I will be discussing different triangulation types. And so we have to do this because we want to enhance validity and reliability of our research. We want to enhance accuracy and validity of our interpretation, and we want to confirm that our data is really a reliable one and not just by chance. Kay mao gining question sa magdo o qualitative study. How sure are you that the data you gather is valid and reliable? And therefore, we do triangulation. So these are the triangulation technique that we will be using. The first is a multiple data collection strategy. Later, nako example, no? And then we also have multiple data sources. And the third one is multiple kinds of data. So when you're evaluator, examiner will ask you, what triangulation technique are you using? He's referring to this. Are you using a multiple data collection strategy or a multiple data sources or multiple kinds of data? So you only answer one. Okay, example. You collect data from multiple sources. So you can interview teacher, principal, and parents. Triangulation raman, so 3. If their answer is the same, so katong imong theme or code or imong category nga nabutang, then that is already valid because they are saying the same thing. So the next way of triangulating is you collect data in multiple ways from subjects. So daghan kag pamaagi to collect data from the same participants. Example, nag-interview na ka, i-observe ni mo siya, then mag-FGD dayon mo, or mag-document analysis ka, tanaw ni mo ang iyahang mga records. Pwede na siya nga triangulation. You can also collect different kinds of data in multiple ways from multiple subjects. Another way of triangulating. You can interview student, you can review iyahang performance, you can observe, you can ask the teacher if he is really doing that. So muna siya ha. So when your panel will be asking what triangulation technique are you using, katurag yung tulo ang imong itubag. Ma'am, I am doing multiple kinds of data. Or I am doing multiple data collection strategies. Or I am doing multiple data sources. So there are 3 ways to do triangulation. Question. Okay, marag 10 minutes. Natay open forum, ma'am? Yeah, we have. Okay. So these are the resources that you will be using when you do data gathering. And of course, data analysis. So when you already have the data, di ba ningon ko ganina, as you gather data, you will analyze na. Unlike 1T, you collect data and then later na ang analysis pag na-complete na siya. But in qualitative research, you actually collect data from this and you do the analysis na dayon after collecting. Automatic na nimo i-analyze ang data because you want that the next time you go out on the field and interview and observe, you already have a common thing to investigate and to check out of the responses of the previous participants that you already interviewed and their data were already analyzed. Okay, things to remember. Ako na po din na storya kanina. The bracketing thing and the epoche thing. So if you want to investigate, you have to know your bias. You have to know your preconceived notion about the phenomena because you are not supposed to impose on. Kay basin ikaw nang nagstorya, si participant, yes ma'am. Yes ma'am. Tama, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. No, wala na. You are not interviewing. You are actually doing, ikaw ni nag-validate sa imong gusto ipaibot dito sa participants. And when I check your transcripts, makita gali na ko ng gayaw-yaw ka, Permi. Agoy, ang bias, klaro kaayo. Imong idea, ang imong gusto i-impose kay naana day kay gusto ibutang sa imuhang framework. Wala pa kani ato sa field na kay preconceived understanding of things. That's why there are 2 schools of thoughts in the quali, ha? Sa quali nang daan ha, gaway-away na ng mga qualitative research, not away-away. They are not actually agreeing on things. Some would say you should start with a technical review of literature only before you go out to the field. Meaning, you only know the method and things, dili na ka mag-review og daghan kay nga literature. Other qualitative researchers would say, you can so that you will have an initial way of doing it. Personally ako, I would rather be going to the field knowing, gamay lang, di gid ingon nga nothing. Because if you know a lot of things about a certain thing that you will be studying, mind you will be imposing. Unya kung magstorya din ang participant, naka-observe man ko, I do pilot man mi no. My advice is pilot tests. their interview protocol, and I will listen. Ningon din ko nga, ikaw na ang nagyaw-yaw. Nag-yes-yes na ang participants. Are you really going to understand on their context, or you are imposing your context on them? Ma'am, kaniha, wala sa interview guide. Mag-question na gyud ka and scaffold. Yes, what do you mean? Are you saying like this? Yes, ma'am. So, what did you do? So, how did you? Ana ra gyud imong mga question, dili nga. When he is answering bitaw, ma'am, no, inani gid bitaw akong experience pod, ma'am. Ako pod, ma'am, ana pod, ma'am. No, ma-engross manggug ka. So try to check. Once you do that, you have to redo. Because you are already, naghatag na kag-idea sa participant, imbis lahi iyang idea, nag-ingon man ka sa imong idea, ni oo na lang po siya sa imong idea, pero lahi gid unta to iyang ingon. Okay, you have to stay away. Stay away from your presumptions, from your judgment. Stay away from it because you want to understand them on their contexts. So you have to do some reduction. So ang pinakakapoy when you do process the analysis is, ma'am, I have so many, taas kayo. The taxing one is the transcripts, but we already have software, or if di ko pwede no, magstorya no? Kaya I am actually advertising a company. If your software are licensed, there are apps in your software in which it can transcribes already the interview. So it's now easy. All you have to do is to actually read and understand, and then you actually group those responses that are similar, and then you do the codes. Later akong ipakita, 10 minutes na lang raba. And of course, after coding initially, ma'am, when I read it again, I have another way of understanding it. Then you do it. Analysis 1. Save us. Analysis 2. Next. Mom, when I read it again, I have another way of, yes, it's normal. It's normal. And then when you have finally come up with the analysis, you go back to your participants and let them validate. Tama ni akong gibutang. Kani tulo ra ba akong gibutang ani? Asa ani kaha, ma'am, ang imuhang buot ipasabot? Okay. So you do that. You do the validation, because once your participants validated your themes, your codes, your categories, then you're good. So you do this 3 parts. You reduce the data, you code katong giingon ganina, and then synthesize the data. Madugo, but it is worth it because you are able also to understand deeply the phenomenon that you're studying in the context of your participants. So muni siya, no, ang steps. Others would have different steps. Kang Creswell, lahi. Kang Mustakas, lahi. So you have to read literatures so that you will know whom proponents of data analysis are you following. Mine is Pandit. So this is Mustakas. Phenomenological reduction, inani ang iyahang gamit. And then, we also have this one. Mato kong gingon sa inyo ha. After the interview, you have concepts. They igrupo nimo into subcategory and category, and then the whole of it, when all the categories magtimat, themes na din siya. You have to write what does it mean, the whole of it. So qualities of good researcher, we should be curious and open-minded. We should be aware of a wider business context. We must be empathetic and patient. We use multiple research methods. We must be collaborative and ethical. Sample case study, investigating the effects of social media on students' academic performance and well-being during the pandemic. So there's the way they, probably naapon mo yung other way of asking questions. So that's an example. Sample of phenom. So sa phenom, in our context, inani ang among gabuhaton, the first question is, we actually describe the participants so that you will know why their answers are like this. Kaya probably lahi pod inyuhang selection sa participants. Probably your participants are naa dito sa far flung area, o niya ang kaninga study kay sa city, or dito sa big school, yung isa kay small school, mag-differ baya siya. And then mga codes, mo gini pinakauna nimo nga tubagon, and then the themes. That's how we in CMU College of Education write down our phenom research questions. And of course, another example. And then ethnomathematics example. And of course, this is the grounded theory study that I did. The working title. If you do grounded theory study, you will have an initial title, a working title, Towards an Understanding of Filipino Senior High School Students' Mathematical Problem-Solving Heuristics. These are not the questions, ha? These are not the questions. But sinabi ninyo, mauna ang questions. These are not the SOPs. But these are the things that you have to answer if you try to do a grounded theory study, especially using Pandit's grounded theory methodology. Later, you will know why ganahan kay ko kang Pandit. Okay. So these are other questions. I already emphasized this a while ago, the triangulation, the data sources, the selection of your participants, and how you gather data. Did I mention that you pilot your interview protocol? Oh, you do pilot testing. And then ipa-check po na nimo sa imong advisor kung tama ba imong pilot testing. And you will notice there are words that you have to rephrase para simple siya kay halalahi ihang tubag ani nga question. Akong expectation kay kini ihang itubag. There are really things that you need to pilot kay lahi ihang pag-understand sa mga bata. Okay. So this is actually Pandit. I know this is not very clear from your perspective. Why I like Pandit is because very systematic, though is a quali, but very systematic ang iyahang way of doing grounded theory methodology. So naa siya 7 ka-phases, and naa siya 3 phases and different steps. So later on, I will be giving a copy to Sir. The PowerPoint presentation, I will be giving a copy to Sir Noy so that you will have something to review and do. Kung ganahan day mo, no? I will give you a copy. So you don't need to write. I will give you a copy of this. Kaya I only have limited time. So i-follow lang na nimo. And on the other side, katunga side, ako anang the things that I did in my study. So you just edit actually if you want to follow Pandit. The things, and then ang imong iutro kay kanila nga parts. See? Kani, the ordering. And what I love about Pandit is from statement of the problem down to the support of literature, nasulat niya tanan. That's why I love Pandit. Nag-advertise na ko sa iya. Pero si Pandit, dili na siya gikan sa education, ha? Lahi na siya. Lahi siyang iyang. And then, ang step niya, 9, kani. So, di ba, si Pandit said, dito na ka mag-support sa imong literature pag nakakuha na ka sa imuhang themes. Naka-reach na ka sa imong theoretical saturation. We stop already because there are no additional input. When we squeeze the lemon, there are no more juice na makuha nimo, then that's the time that you stop squeezing. Wala na jud kay makuha, balik-balik na ang tubag sa imong participants. So that is theoretical saturation. You reach na the closure, and therefore that's now the time that you will refine things because you now go to the literature. Kinsay mag-support ani, bali magud ni siya. Unlike sa mga Mag-una kag basag literature, daghan kayo, baga na kayo imong proposal, ana. Here, your proposal is only 27 pages, pero pagkahuman, baga, 500 pages pagkahuman. Ano siya kay, naman kay interview transcripts and the summary of your codes, initial codes, and all. So dito na din ka magkuhag support. And in the qualitative study, here's a thing. You don't need the most recent studies and literature. As long as there are literature and studies that will support your claim, then it's good. Kung sa batanon pa na, goods na, bisag 1990. Kaysa kwanti, pangitaan ka, oh, your literature is too old. Find a new one, the recent one. But mind you, mom, the recent one is 1990. There are no more additional studies, so that's the recent. Tama? Ay, hala, oy, wala reaction. Tama? Oh, the recent literature is 1960. O, di mo na imuha, recent literature. Oh, sa kwanti na nga perspective. Apo sa quali, bahalag 1950, forgotten pa. Oh, goods sila na siya. So, naay forever sa literature. Nasa quali. So, masite pa ta, bisag. Dito na ta nagkandak sa study. 2025, 10 years man ta kasagara, no? Or 5 years. 10 or 5 years. So, even if you do your study and publish it in 2000, may pag-asang masite sa mga qualitative study. Okay. Impact on your studies. So, sample audit trail. This is the sample that ako ang ingon sa inyo, ha? These are the interview responses. You have your open codes, and then your actual codes, the relationship, and then the selective coding in which you do the, giisa na nimo siya, giisa na nimo siya, the main category, the subcategories, and the concepts. Muning concepts, these are the categories, the sub, the main. Ana siya. So, inanang itsura sa inyong appendices. And you only place sample in your paper. That's how themes are made. The theme 1, identifying problems and priorities. Sub-theme 1, 2, and 3. Natimingan lang ni siya nga tag 3 ha, dili necessary nga katag 3 ang sub-themes. Basin mo ingon mo nga 3 gud ang sub-themes, ma'am? No, depende. Naay duha, naay human. Oh, so tama na. Human na timing na ko, ma'am. Nag-overtime ko, ma'am. Sorry, nag-overtime ko. And that's it. Thank you so much for listening.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Tan, for that very informative and very inviting talk. Pag ingon ni ma'am nga, pwede na daw ang mga RRL, bisan po og 19 forgotten na, wow, lami ka imo balhin og quali di ay, di na ta magkwanti. Ha, ma'am? Anyway, I know that some of you here might have questions to ask or maybe clarifications about the talk of Dr. Tan. However, we will be entertaining those questions later after the talk of Dr. Torres. For now, let us take a short break first. You can go to the canteen if there is any nearby, or maybe you can go to the comfort room if you want, but make sure to be back at exactly 10:20 for the next talk. That's it.
His treasure. My God reigns within me, and I am determined to live for the King. I am determined to be invincible till He has finished His purpose in me, and nothing shall shake me, for He'll never forsake me. I am determined to live for the King. Hell's gates are trembling from saints' prayers ascending. Darkness is crumbling from praises we sing. Our sovereign victorious is marching before us, and we are determined to live for the King. I am determined to be invincible till He has finished His purpose in me, and nothing shall shake me, for He'll never forsake me. I am determined to live for the King. When I am weary, I'll look to His face. When I am tempted, I'll trust in His grace. I'll trust in His grace. I am determined to be invincible till He has finished His purpose in me, and nothing shall shake me, for He'll never forsake me. I am determined. I am determined. I am determined to live for the King. I will live for the King.
Sa kalistanan ko, kasakit.
it's already 10:30. Let us resume with our session for today. There are some changes in the program. So instead of one speaker this morning, we will have two. So with that, allow me to introduce the second speaker to all of you. Our second speaker is a seasoned public school teacher who was once connected to DepEd Bukidnon. In the present, she is now a proud faculty member of CMU's College of Education, specifically the Central Mindanao University Laboratory High School. To hear her talk on experimental action research, please help me welcome Dr. Giselle Tan Torres. A round of applause, please.
Thank you so much, Ma'am MC. Okay, my respect to the Mountain View College officials, faculty and staff, students, fellow teachers from CMU, and everyone in attendance right now, a pleasant morning. I am very much honored and privileged to have this moment to stand in front of you, to see the faces behind the progressive Mountain View College. Okay, so my topic this morning is about designing an experimental action research. May I see the hands of those students from the College of Teacher Education? Okay, future teachers, because this topic is really of great sa inyo for you. Now, experimental action research. Objectives: at the end of the session, the participants will be able to identify the structure and essential components of an experimental action research. Next, appreciate the importance of conducting action research to improve teaching and learning practices, and draft an initial outline of an experimental action research proposal based on a classroom context or educational setting. Okay, what is an action research? Okay, how this differs to the research, the one that we do when we do thesis, dissertation. How this differs to that research? Anyone? Okay, that is basic research. The thesis, the dissertation, and the like. Now, basic research, the purpose is to generate new information. Diba? If we do research or thesis specifically, dissertation specifically, we are tasked to read first the research gap. And after that one, we study, because the result of that research gap will be of great help to the body of knowledge. Now, without considering its immediate practical application. That's basic research. Now, action research is what is the present problem right now within our classroom or the operating unit where we are into. That's action research. Okay? So, now there are action research processes. What do you mean by process? Process is a step-by-step procedures of identifying problems, observing, implementing, and reflecting. So the first one is identifying the action research problem. Okay, the most important thing in research is knowing what the problem is. Now for the teachers, if you'll be given the chance to change something in your classroom, specifically that is something for a student's learning outcomes, what would it be? So we ask question, we need to identify what specific problem. And then we're going to decide on the kind of information to collect. After that, we're going to determine what appropriate intervention or innovation or treatment that we're going to use. Next step in making action research is designing the action research. Now, there are 6 major research designs. First, we have the experimental. Second is the causal comparative or the ex post facto. Next is correlational, then survey. The one that we discussed a while ago about qualitative research and historical. So there are many major research designs, but we'll be focusing right now on the first one, the experimental research design, specifically the action research. Claro? Okay. Sige. Next is collecting the data for action research. Now, collecting data is important in getting a clearer picture of variables, which maybe have potential contributions to the problem selected. So, it may be done through paper and pencil instruments. So, like the test, rating scales, checklist, questionnaires, sorry. Next is through interviews. Ang interviews is common sa like the one that we discussed a while ago on the qualitative research. So with observation, then document and material analysis, and then the mixed method analysis. Now next is analyzing the data for action research. In action research, there are 2 types of data. First is the quantitative, and the second one is the qualitative data. Let's go back to the quantitative data. This only requires simple statistical tools like the descriptive statistics. As discussed a while ago, when we say descriptive statistics, it means what? Kanilang the measures of central tendency or location. Okay? When we say measures of central tendency, we mean the mean, median, and mode. As of the moment, Murag, we already have the common understanding when we say mean, right? Mode, so with the median. And the measures of variability or dispersion, we mean range, variance, and standard deviation. Usually, when we do studies, research studies, magpares lang si mean and standard deviation, right? It's the descriptive part of analyzing the data. Then, next is inferential statistics. Inferential statistics, so we mean the independent, we can use independent t-test. Next is paired t-test or the analysis of variance. Kay ganina, the descriptive part, it will only describe. Now, say for example, if nagtanaw ka, if there is an improvement in the performance of the students through the mean, in the descriptive part, you can only say that there is an improvement, say from 85 to 90. There is an improvement. But how can we say that there is a significant difference? Then ang mutubag ana is the inferential statistics. Now, when to use this, the independent t-test. Independent t-test, when you're going to compare the 2 means from 2 groups. So there are 2 groups. So this is the beauty of experimental study, the quantitative study. You have the experimental group and the control group. So you use independent t-test if my experimental and my control group. Then the paired t-test. When to use the paired t-test? You just compare 2 means from 1 group measured twice. So isa lang, may 1 group only. 2 means because you're going to test the pre-test and the post-test, but isang group lang. Say for example, in a classroom, one group only, and then you do the pre-test first, and then after the intervention, you need to get the post-test. So that is paired t-test. And then the analysis of variance or the ANOVA, that is when you are going to compare 3 or more means. Okay, so dali naman siguro, no? Murag tanan na naka-make og experimental or quantitative study. And then next is the qualitative data. We discussed this one a while ago, right? So that from interview, observation, discussion, you are going to look for recurring themes or patterns, the one that was discussed by Dr. Tan. Next is writing the action research, the final step, writing the action research. So accordingly, there are 4 phases of research. First is the conceptualization. Next is the full-blown, you do the planning, implementing, organizing, reflecting. And then the third one is the dissemination. You're going to disseminate the result of your research. Kanusa man nato when to have the dissemination part? Anyone? When we present the result of our study in a conferences, di ba? We present, so that is one way of disseminating the result of your research. And then the other one is through publication. And the final is the adoption part. It should be adapted sa mga end users. Now, what is an experimental research? Okay, a scientific approach to research. Experimental research uses 2 sets of variables. So take note, we always have the independent and dependent variable. And 1 or more independent variables are manipulated. Now let's go to the definition of terms. As of the moment, murag kabalo na gyud ta, we know already what are independent variables, right? Claro? Okay, very good. So the cause, the change on purpose by the experimenter or the researcher, and its value is independent of other variables. And then the dependent variable, the effect, responds to the independent variable, and its value depends on changes in the independent variable. Next is the experimental group. So we have these groups in experimental research, but not all the time. Masabta na to later. We have experimental group receives the intervention or treatment. Next is the control group, does not receive the intervention or treatment. Then, random sampling. Every participant has an equal chance of being chosen. And non-random sampling, some participants have no chance to be selected. So, the sampling method, you have the random sampling and non-random sampling on the right side. On the left side is the random sampling. We have the 4 types. Klaro naman nino? The simple, systematic, stratified, and clustered. So let's give example para mas maklaro. The sampling method on simple. Simple random sampling. Say for example, draw lots, di ba? Magbutang tag, we put the names inside the box and then we just chose. So that's random sampling, specifically the simple random sampling. Next is the systematic sampling. Like, let's make it simple. You have 100 participants and you need only to get 50. So how are you going to do the systematic random sampling? Diba? We'll just divide the total, divide the number of our supposed respondents, the 50. So what is the divisor? 2. So 2. So you list down all the names and then choose 1, and the next 2, plus 2, 4, then plus 2, 6. So all those even names on the even numbers, those are your respondents. So that is systematic sampling. You will have a system generator. Then the stratified random sampling, like you're going to separate. You'll just get 5 respondents from the slow learners, and then 5 from the average, and then 5 from the fast learners. That's stratified random sampling. And clustered random sampling, say for example, you have a study, and your respondents are only like in the division of Valencia City, so the entire division. Or respondents under the division of Bukidnon. That's clustered random sampling. On the other hand, non-random sampling, gamit kaini sa qualitative study. Like convenience sampling, when can we have this? Say for example, in a mall, kinsay nakatisting naka-respond tag mga questionnaire sa mall gihatag. Okay, so that's it. That's convenient sampling. And then next is like voluntary. The questionnaires given through links. That's voluntary. And purposive, you have the criteria. Like you're going to get respondents, those who are slow learners lang or at-risk students. You have the criteria to follow. And the snowball. Kita naman we know snowball, right? As it falls down a hill, it gets bigger and bigger, right? So, delicate ni nga mga respondents. Say for example, mga drug addicts. Diba? Dili man sila exposed. They are not exposed. So, through referral lang. One respondent will refer to another until such time nga magkadaghan ang respondents. That's snowball sampling. Okay. Okay, so the sampling method, all eligible individuals, random sampling, all eligible individuals have a chance of being chosen for the sample, mainly used in quantitative research, more able to generalize the results from the study, and more time-consuming and expensive. Kay dako man gid siya, daghan. So time-consuming and expensive. While non-random sampling, some individuals have no chance of being selected. There is a significant risk of ending up with a non-representative sample which produces non-generalizable results, cheaper and more convenient, has a higher risk of sampling bias, and you can't use it to make valid statistical inferences about the whole population. And you cannot generalize the results in your study when you use this type of sampling. So it is desirable that sampling method for experiments be random. However, since experimental action research are conducted to solve specific classroom problems, the sampling may have to be purposive and accessible, which are non-random sampling. So pwede ra gyud. So example, so let's go to the actual title and then this one. Like you have the research topic or title, improving students' geometry skills using manipulatives. So what have you observed sa title? In the title. Again, improving students' geometry skills in using manipulatives. There is only the presence of what? The independent and the dependent variable. And with your verb in gerund form. Right? So ana lang gid ang title. When you construct title of an action experimental research, only the presence of the independent and the dependent variable. The gerund form, the dependent variable, followed by the independent variable. So, the independent variable is use of manipulatives. The dependent variable is the geometry skills, and the experimental group, the group or section that uses the manipulatives in geometry class. And then the control group, kadtong wala lang. Okay? No manipulatives. Next is the declarative form of the title. So observe, integration of video clips in teaching science to enhance the academic performance of students. So, there is the presence of what? Nauna si science to enhance academic performance to students. So, first is the dependent or independent variable? Independent variable, then the dependent variable, pag naka-declarative form siya, ang title ng experimental research. So, dali na lang si independent, dependent, experimental, and the control group. Okay, next is the types of experimental research design. So, there are also types of experimental research design. First is the pre-experimental. Next is the quasi-experimental, and the third is the true experimental. Now, let's differentiate this. First is the pre-experimental. Okay, take note that you have, of course, the independent variable, and then take note that you only have the experimental group, no control group. That's pre-experimental. And then sampling is non-random sampling. Kanus-an ni mahitabo sa research, experimental action research? Say for example, you only have one classroom lang. Okay, there are cases na gamay ra gyud we only have one class, right? Daily duha, one classroom only, and we want to study certain innovation or intervention. So mag-pretest, you only have one group, that one section, and then the post-test. That's pre-experimental. And then of course, non-random sampling, because what's in that section, that is already your respondents. You cannot do the random sampling anymore. So that's pre-experiment. And then later, we'll discuss what statistics used to this pre-experimental. Next is the quasi-experiment. You have, of course, the independent variable, and then the groups, the presence of the two groups. Take note that in quasi-experiment, there are two groups, the experimental group and then the control group. Non-random sampling lang siya. So, non-random sampling. Then, the third one is true experiment. You have the presence of the two groups, and then you have the independent variable, of course, the dependent variable, and then there is random sampling. So that's true experiment. Okay? Na-differentiate ra? Pre-experiment is you only have one group. There is the presence of pre-test and post-test. Quasi-experiment is two groups, but walang random sampling, non-random sampling. Like say, for example, in a classroom, you have two groups, two classrooms. So, intact naman ang class. You cannot do the sampling anymore. That's quasi-experiment. And then true experiment, when there's the presence of the two groups, and there is a random sampling. That's true experiment. So, di ta mag-goal kung gamay ratag respondents di ay. Like, we cannot have the two classes, two sections. Sige, let's apply this one. Example, our research topic, okay, effectiveness of body system in improving test scores in Math 8. So what is our independent variable? Independent variable is the independent variable, the body system. And then our dependent variable, Okay, so the test scores in Math 8. So the research question first is for the descriptive statistics. First, gives you descriptive statistics like what is the grade 8 learners' test scores in mathematics before and after using body system. Naagid na siya pinaka-first to use the descriptive statistics to describe their score. And we will use the mean. Next is the hypothesis. So, pag may hypothesis, that means inferential statistics na. Like the t-test or ANOVA, like that one, the paired t-test. So, is the body system effective in improving test scores in math? You have the two hypotheses. You write first the null hypothesis, like the body system is not effective in improving test scores in math. And the next is the alternative hypothesis stating that there is an improvement in the score, improving test scores in math, like that. And then since you have the presence of the two groups, then that is the type of experiment is true experiment. Merong control group, merong experimental group. And of course, the independent and dependent variables, that is, meron talaga yan always. And then sampling is random sampling because, nagunsa to ganina? Okay, drawing of lots is employed. So there is random sampling, specifically the simple random sampling. So that is a true experiment. Okay, so for the first question, you'll just use the mean paired with the standard deviation to describe the variability of the scores. And then for the second one, is the body system effective in improving test scores in math? That is now the independent t-test. So when you have the true experiment, paris gud niya si independent t-test when you only have two groups, okay? So true experiment, independent t-test. Kasi merong random sampling and merong dalawang groups, two means. Next is the second example. Usefulness of feedback through SMS in increasing the achievement levels in English of at-risk students in grade 9. So the research question, what is for descriptive stat? The mean. What is the achievement level in English of the grade 9 at-risk students before and after using feedback through SMS? No, walang hypothesis kasi that is not for inferential stat. For descriptive only. So no descriptive in nature, no hypothesis. Next is for the second question. Does SMS feedback increase the achievement levels of at-risk students? So since this is for inferential stat, you now have the presence of your null hypothesis and your alternative hypothesis. Again, write first the null, followed by the alternative hypothesis. Then type of experiment, pre-experiment, because you have only the experimental group and no control group. That's why it's pre-experiment and your sampling is purposive because you only have the at-risk students. Gamay naman siguro at-risk students, no? So you just chose those at-risk students. That is why purposive. Your criteria is they are at risk, as at-risk students. Then, what is the achievement and then the data gathering method to use, instruments to use is a teacher-made test or the standardized achievement test. So for the first question, mean, and for the second question is the paired t-test. Pre-experiment, its counterpart, statistics to use is really the paired t-test once it's a experiment. Okay? And the third example, improving grade 10 students' geometry skills using manipulatives. So, okay, so diretso na sa second question, is there a significant increase? And then you have the hypothesis, the alternative hypothesis, and the null hypothesis at first. Quasi-experiment because there is no or non-random sampling is being used. And of course, you have the presence of the two groups and the dependent and independent variable. Okay, and then the participants, of course, grade 10, and the data gathering or instruments to use, teacher-made test, standardized achievement test, and independent t-test for the statistical statistics to use. Okay, so this is supposedly our workshop. You're going to write a title and the research questions, hypothesis, the research design, sampling method and participants, data collection, and data analysis. But how are we going to do this one? So, Ma'am Dens, how are you going to do the workshop? Or is this applicable kay submission na lang? Okay. So, research is the engine of progress. It transforms questions into knowledge and knowledge into action. To research is not just to seek answers, but to shape the future. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Torres. For somebody who has not done research for quite a long time, I think this is a very good review for all of us. And with that, I think the floor is now ready for all those participants who would like to ask questions. May we invite our two speakers here in front, Dr. Dennis Tan and Dr. Giselle Torres. Ma'ams. If you have questions, you can raise your hand so that I can recognize you. Ma'am, can you stay there, ma'am? And maybe we can also call on Dr. Okang for her knowledge as well in research. Dr. Okang? Anybody from the audience who would like to ask questions? Yes, sir?
Students, don't hesitate to ask questions if you have some clarification with regards to the two topics this morning. You are welcome to ask questions. But to start in asking question, I'll be the one to ask first. Okay, to Dr. Dennis first. My first question is for the qualitative. There are some, participants at the back. When you give an example about in selecting the participants for the qualitative, like for example, you mentioned the struggles, because if we say the lived experiences of the low-performing students, those are struggling automatically, those who are low-performing students. Then we have our conversation at the back. How about the top-performing students if we want to study also their struggles? Because maybe, as for me, as a top-performing students, they are now in their position at the top because they are struggling too much. Because some of the low-performing students parang wala lang pakialam. So maybe they are not really struggling. So how about the struggles of those who are in the top students? It can be, Doc?
Yes, sir. Actually, it depends on your investigation. If your investigation is more on understanding the struggles of top-performing mathematics students, then your inclusion criteria, I was not able to emphasize a while ago, no? You should have inclusion criteria for your participants. So your inclusion criteria is for top-performing students who are struggling. Not only top-performing. but those with struggles. You cannot select participants that are just top performing because you are investigating struggles of top performing students. So
Okay.
your inclusion criteria will be number 1, a student is top performing. So say for example, a JEWA of, what's your highest JEWA, sir? What's your highest grade in MVC?
4.
4. So,
4.
say for example, a top performing students, a JEWA of 3.5 to 4 in mathematics, kung math lang ang imuhang sadihan. But if it's a general top performing students, then it can be JEWA of 3.5 to 4. And then second inclusion criteria is struggling. Pero dapat na kay questionnaire to be floated to the top performing students nga maka-measure sa struggles. And then, pag analyze din nimo, katog yung na yung mga struggles. Yeah,
Okay.
it depends upon your...
Yeah, thank you very much.
investigation.
Actually, it depends upon how we establish the criteria in selecting our participants, especially in the qualitative. For Dr. Torres, we strictly emphasize about the non-probability sampling and probability sampling in selecting, especially in selecting our participants, because in your presentation, you presented that in the quasi-experimental and the pre-experimental and the true experimental, na ay non-random sampling because in our minds, including maybe my students, that if we say non-probability sampling or non-random sampling should be applied only in the qualitative research. Then just this research or this presentation, we can apply also non-random sampling or non-probability sampling in the quantitative research because in my class, I used to include in, what is this, in selecting the participant using the census method because if it is quantitative, because I thought that we cannot use the non-random sampling in the quantitative research because the non-random sampling is only for the qualitative. So, may I ask, ma'am, if there are some authors or literature that telling us that the non-random sampling can be used in the quantitative, especially in the experimental, either it is quasi-experimental or true experimental or pre-experimental method.
Okay ra ako'y mutubag, Sir Noy?
Yes po.
If we say not non-random in the context of individual student, di ba, in the quasi? Because in the quasi-experimental study, we use 2 groups. One is the experimental group and the other one is the control group. The non-random sampling is within the students, but there's still random sampling because we toss coin whose groups will be the experimental and whose group is the control. So still random. Naay pagka-random, pero dito lang sa ilahang individual ang intact man ang atong gigamit.
Yeah, because in the like for example, purposively I choose the grade 8 students for my participants in the quasi or quasi-experimental method. So purposively I choose. Then
Because
in
that's your-
choosing which group is control or
You
group,
still randomize.
yeah, randomized. Again, in addition for that, about tossing a coin, is it really very applicable in the quasi-experimental, the tossing a coin? Because sometimes in grouping, there are some sections who are good performing compared to the other. Then in choosing which group is use the intervention and which group will not use the intervention, is tossing a coin really acceptable or okay sa quasi-experimental?
As researchers for many years, I believe, sir, it's acceptable. However, it is best if we have a heterogeneous grouping per section. But if we have a homogeneous sectioning, diha ang malugi kung pag-toss mo sa coin. Dili na sila ano. But of course, we can eliminate the effect of the beginning variable by using a powerful statistical tool. That is why we use ANCOVA instead of independent t-tests. Because ANCOVA can eliminate the variable, the entry variable, because in the ANCOVA analysis, it will only actually use the gain score when it actually compare the performance. So that's why statistical tests is such a powerful tool when choosing. Kay kung pagtanaw ni, sorry, Bisaya ko naman day mga foreigner.
We have foreigner, ma'am.
We have foreigners pala. So when you randomly choose, when you toss coin for two sections, two groups, and then you know so well that they are homogeneous, one section is the cream class and the other section, do not use independent sample t-test, but rather use analysis of covariance, wherein your covariate is your pre-tests.
Thank you, ma'am. For our students, maybe you don't understand what is ANCOVA, that is analysis of covariance, and we have also ANOVA, the analysis of variance. To Dr. Torres, maybe this is my last question if nothing comes into my mind. Dr. Torres, my question is, because in the experimental, and especially the action research, into what extent or how many loops do we need, especially in proposal, if the first intervention it's not effective, then how many loops of the action research do we need in order for us to find a final solution to solve the problem, especially in the deep ed settings that for how many years we encounter this problem among our students every year, then we need to solve this problem. Then if we will apply this intervention and this intervention it's not effective, how many loops that we need to use until that we solve the problem?
Okay, thank you, sir. Siguro it depends on the availability of your time as a teacher, no? But if you really want to solve that problem, the result for is not favorable, then try another one until ma-solve it siya, sir. Like that. Continue lang, sige. And
Alright.
don't forget to write the result of your study, because even if it's not favorable, then maybe the next teacher can still use the result of your study as to what and how to improve that study, because maybe on that part na is something nga wa nahimo. Like that.
A pleasant morning to all. With regards to the question of Sir Nonoy, I agree with the answer of Dr. Torres. One of the authors of Action Research book, I think it's Dr. Miller, said that it doesn't stop the implementation of an intervention doesn't stop until you will find it effective. So we have this PDCA cycle. You plan, you do it, you check if it's effective, you check, then you act. So until you cannot find a certain intervention effective, then you continue doing the cycle. So again, PDCA. Yan. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that, Dr. Tan, Dr. Torres, and Dr. Okang. Thank you as well to Sir Noy for asking that question. Oh, dili pa ta magpalakpak. Kay wala pa ta nahuman. Anybody who would like to ask questions from our audience, participants, you can raise your hand so that I can recognize you. Somebody from the back? Anybody? From this side? From this side? I think bright gagaya ang mga taga-MVC kay feeling na ko nasabtan ginila tanan kay wala na mag-ask og questions. Si Sir Noy na daw ang wala nakasabot. Sugot lugar mo ana. Anybody who would like to ask questions? From this, I know that there are people here who would like to ask pero medyo naulaw lang. Just raise your hand so that I can recognize you. Oh, I thought my question si Sir. Nagtindog man siya. Somebody? Let's go back to Sir Noy.
Wala ba nag-question ato mga students? Ma'am Love, please come, Ma'am Love. But while Ma'am Love is marching on the aisle, okay, are you applying action research in your education? Ma'am Tan, Doc Den?
In the College of Education, we have group of faculty who actually do action research, use patriotic research, because definitely we compete with funds when we propose action research, no? And not four, six of our action researches way back when I was the principal in high school actually were already published in some journals. So you can actually Google it, you type my name, and you can find those action researches that we actually do in the laboratory high
How
school.
about the fourth year education students?
Yeah, they have CBAR.
Okay.
Say meaning sa CBAR, Ma'am Jen? Competency-based action research. When they had their off-campus student teaching, they do also action research.
Yeah, because it is in the research, no? The action
Yes.
research. But upon evaluating the action research with the practice teaching nila, it's hard to comply and to polish the action research. That's why when I asked the CHED if it is okay, not really to apply 100% the action research, yes, you can do the quantitative and the qualitative
They
research.
had their proposal, sir, when they were in the when they had their first semester. They had their proposal so that during the second semester, during their OJT, they will have their conduct already.
Yeah, yeah.
So they will have their proposal writing, and they will defend their proposal for their CBAR. And then during the second semester, they will have their conduct. And then at the end of their OJT, they have to present their action
Yeah,
research.
because in the School of Education, aside for the values education, we have only one research class. So we changed our curriculum during the curriculum mapping. So we changed, instead of fourth year, we changed to third year. So that they can start in third year, then they can propose, then during the kuan.
We also have our
Yeah.
action research in specific discipline. I thought when way back many years ago, action research in mathematics education. I believe other disciplines also have. During their third year, they have their one subject on action research introductory. And then when they will be in fourth year, they will have their
Research, good.
yeah.
Okay.
The-
Thank you very much. Ma'am Lab, the microphone is yours.
Good morning, I'm Jen. I'd just like to clarify, because you said the action research doesn't stop until you get a positive result. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. As long as time permits.
Oh, like for example, because if our students want to do action research and then they're done with the intervention, but at the end of the semester, it still does not have a positive effect. So what do we do with that?
Yeah, according to what Ma'am Dennis said, somebody has to continue with that. Actually, if they want, they can continue that. In their action research, what year is that, ma'am? If, for example, third year, they conducted action research.
Like for example, they're doing it in their fourth year
Fourth
during
year.
their OJT.
Maybe if they are really interested in improving the skills of the students, then maybe they can continue that one when they are already in the field.
So that's okay. They can still defend it, even.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Whatever the
Whatever is the result.
Okay.
Remember that. Remember that. It's like the author. I think the one who discovered the lamp, the bulb. Edison Thomson said, "I was able to find 999 ways of not making a lamp or a bulb." Meaning, whether it is positive, whether the result is positive or negative, then that is still a result of research. So you can recommend later on not to follow these steps, do not use this, or improve this one because this one, or modify this because these steps are not effective. So,
So
that is still a
ideally,
research, ma'am.
there are many cycles. Is that correct? Or
Yes.
if like say we finish in one cycle and then it's effective, then we stop.
Yes. Or
But if not,
you may recommend that certain steps to be adopted. Or for more improvements, pwede po sila makapadayon.
okay. Thank you. Another question, is that okay? Let's say,
Can I add something,
Yeah, sure.
ma'am? In the context of research, ma'am, especially action research, if you are already a teacher on the field, then what Ma'am Jenny had said, according to Miller, you can do that until you will have a positive result. In the context of our students who are still candidates for graduation, 4th year, then whatever be the result, then we have to present it. And then they will write a recommendation, what went wrong, what went right, and then have somebody recommend that the next batch will actually do this. So you allow. Do not in your organization also, you allow students to adapt for the second phase. Kaya ang problema man gud ana basin ang group of faculty kay ayaw kan himo naman na ni kuan wala man na siya effective. Oh, so in our as a faculty also we allow our students nga there is this recommendation of one group nga it's not effective, you can do the phase 2 in the conduct so that you are able to actually implement the things that they think went wrong during their implementation so that we will really have a complete grasp of why this intervention did not work the first time. Ana siya, ma'am.
okay, thank you so much, ma'am. Can we ask in your experience in CMU for your education students, could you say that using action research for their thesis is possible? And is it feasible, especially if they do it before graduating?
In the college, ma'am, I believe we don't have thesis in the College of
okay,
Education.
okay.
So we don't have thesis subject.
All right.
Our subject for the teacher education in the College of Education, katulang yung sa 3rd year, action research in specific discipline. And then when they proceed to education 97 and 98, in the 97, part of it is the proposal. Am I right, Ma'am Rehana? Field study, ma'am. Field study. In the field study part, they do the proposal writing. Gibuilt in na siya, ma'am, so that ready na dayon ang ilahang, it's one school year, para ready na dayon sila. Dili siya in one semester lang. In the first semester, in the field study, according to Ma'am Rehana, they will have their proposal for their action research, defend the proposal, so that during their the internship portion, their EDUC 98, am I right? 98? The competency in teaching teacher, they are the ones also who follow up the conduct and then have it presented after they will be back from their internship. So taas siya, ma'am. 1 year ang iyahang. Gibuilt in na mo siya, ma'am. But it's not thesis. It's not thesis. It's part of their internship. Built in siya sa mga other subjects so that they have a hand of doing action research while they are still with us, because definitely when they proceed to DepEd, which is actually their main employer, ready na po sila. Dili na po sila. Naa sila theory when they were in 3rd year, actual na dayon sa proposal, and actual nga conduct sa ilahang 4th year, the whole of 4th year. I guess Ma'am Mariana can also share. Giunsa na to ato ang kuan, ma'am.
Yeah, I think all of those things you were able to share, Ma'am, was actually it. So we do our action research during field study 2 specifically, and then right after the proposal phase during field study 2, we then let them conduct their study during internship. After internship, they will try to defend it and then possibly publish it as well in the future.
Yeah, there are already publications of our teacher education students.
Lastly, Ma'am Torres, let's say I'm an English teacher and I want to use, let's say, video clips for improving English or academic achievement in English. Can you just give us an overview of how to do action research just with that topic? Just a simple, like a sketch.
Okay, your video clips, ma'am, right? So you identify what is really your problem. Your problem is like what? The pronunciation of your students and how it will help to the pronunciation of the students using that video clips. Okay, so identify first the problem, and then you write the objectives, and then of course you already have the intervention, right? The video clips. So after that one, maybe you will next step is to have that the pre-test and the post-test, your pre-test and post-test. So that pre-test and post-test, is it teacher-made or adapted? So mangita, you look for, if it's a teacher-made test, so you really have to do it, and then you need to pilot test it with the other students. Hindi yung gagamit ng yung test. Maybe from the next year level, like if it higher level, if it's grade 9, so you're going to pilot test your questionnaire to the grade 10. And then once you'll get the reliability of that exam, like 0.8 something above, so that's reliable, then you can use those questionnaires na pwede, and then delete those questions nga hindi. It's in the result naman. And then after that one, you do the pre-test to the students, pre-test, and then you now use the intervention, your video clips. You have two groups. The other one will use the video clips, and then the other one, yung hindi. And then after that one, you do the post-test. After getting the result, meron tayong normality test, right? If your data is normal, ma'am, there is a corresponding criteria when to use. If your data is normal, assumption to use. Anyway, nandun na yan lahat sa like the Jamovie. You just input the data and then you run. Anyway, next meeting, Jamovie kayo. All those tests, the t-test, yun, i-discuss how to use those tests. So if it's normal, your data is normal, so you use this corresponding statistical treatment. And then if it's not, walang problema kasi meron ding counterpart. Non-parametric test. Okay, after that one, so that's the result na. So if it's favorable or not, don't worry, just write the result. Because that result then would be of great help to the next student, or yes, teachers and students, because that your contribution now is that gap of knowledge. Because of that gap of knowledge then will be used by the next researchers for them to study that topic, that video clips. Okay, please add, ma'am.
I would like to add, I agree with Dr. Torres to the original Dr. Tan. Sila actually ang original na Dr. Tan. I would like to add, ma'am, I agree with Dr. Torres. I also would love to suggest the video clips. You have to, are you going to make or select or download? Select the video clips that you will be using. So you have to seek permission from the author if it's not for free, but if free, okay lang man siya, but there should be criteria in selecting your video clips and why you, because there are those who will be asking you when you do your presentation in the conference, how did you select your video clips? So you have to have certain criteria in selecting your video clips. Kay gusto nimo nga slang kay sila, or gusto nimo Filipino English or British English, or what type of English pronunciation you wish to. That's why you are selecting this. So clear siya sa imuhang selection of the clips.
All right, thank you for that, Dr. Tan. However, ma'am, can I also ask a question, if it is possible? It's been a long time since I was asking this question. I've been asking this question in my mind. If it is an experimental research, ma'am, so there's this control group and the experimental group. Experimental group will have the what do you call this one?
Intervention.
The intervention, while the control group will be the one that will not get the intervention you chose. However, my question is, will it be unfair, or is it not unfair for the control group not to receive the same intervention given to the experimental group, given that they are, say for example, in the same year level and such?
This is actually the usual question no, during conferences. So if you are the one, hello, then your answer is right after my intervention. I also, those in the control group, I also allow them to use video clips right after na.
So we
the
will-
next, di ba in the topic kay selected raman imong topic Ma'am Raihan, di man siya in the whole school year or in the whole semester. Your topic is only selective. Example, 1 chapter only. So sa next na din yung mga chapters and you found that it's effective, then everyone will be using na after your experiment period.
I see. Yes, Sir Noy.
Ang nag-question kay from CMU, so I want to answer also the question. Kay, lisod po kayo nga kamuray magtubag-tubag, no?
Alin na diri, Sir Noy. Sir
Digin
Noy.
magpaalkansi ba? No, digin
Sir
paalkansi.
Noy.
Oh, diri ko mulingkod. Okay.
Tara.
Actually, Ma'am Jenny is my classmate when I was in my master's degree. Ma'am Jenny Ukang Tan. Then Ma'am Dennis Tan is my professor in my PhD.
But
then
I
Ma'am
am
Torres.
younger than
But
you.
they are sisters. Okay? Mga doktor ha? Mga doktor niya, mga research. Okay. Actually, the husband of Ma'am Dennis is the brother of Ma'am Ukang and Ma'am Torres. Okay.
That's why I said they are the original Tan.
Kini siya fake ni siya. Kini
Fake
control
ra
group.
ko.
Kini siya mga experimental group. Okay. Actually,
Ako ang experimental.
yeah, experimental na. Okay.
Sila ang independent.
Muratag nasa talk show, no? Okay, sige. At murag ta talk show. Okay. Before we end, okay. We have the same question about the experimental. Yeah, it's unfair
Yeah.
sa control group nga they don't apply because my master's thesis is quasi-experimental. So, my students ask, Sir, nganong sila raman ang imong ginakuha na anang writing mathematics? Because my study is writing mathematics, no? Writing mathematics after dissolved, they have to support like that one. Sir, nganong sila raman ang activity anak kami wala man? So, I told them nga, it's okay. Kay, I need your data for comparison. So, pasalamat mo nga, you're still part of my study. Pero my question is, to Dr. Torres is, it's okay that, for example, sila ang control group, then experimental group, then after you gather data, for the next topic, you swap. The experimental group become the intervention group, then ang intervention group, pwede? Pwede ba siya? Unya, another comparison, is it okay? Acceptable?
Okay, we'll ask the wisdom of the
many years of teaching. If naana magud sila, ani siya sir contamination of results is very feasible if you do that. Specifically that the first group already know the intervention. So dili naman to nimo ma-delete sa ilagod. So you cannot just directly swap unless it's a new intervention. So sila na pod ang murag imo silang i-control na pod, i-swap nimo sila pero it's a new intervention. It's not similar intervention. Kay kung similar nga intervention, kuan na siya, makontaminate na kay they already know. And therefore, even without you, they will do that. Pwede naman nila buhaton good siya, writing to learn. So even if sir will not require me to reflect on what happened, I can do my personal reflection. Di ba?
So it cannot be.
Dili gid siya
Dili gid siya
kay
pwede.
ano na siya sir,
Okay.
makontaminate na imong data.
Katong expose sa intervention, sila nagyuta ang padayon, no? Aside if you will apply another intervention, then you change the groupings. Okay? Thank you very much for coming to my show this morning. Napay usa, okay?
Can I add, sir? In addition. Okay, before we conduct the experiment or before we introduce the intervention, in selecting who will be the control group and in selecting who will be the experimental group, balik ta sa start, toss coin. We do toss coin. And remember that pagsugod sa experiment or the usual things na hitabo inside the classroom, the framework itself is already found effective. For example, makarelate ang mga eduk ani. If you use 5A lesson plan or 7E, those are already effective framework. That's why it's implemented inside the classroom. So this time, we are introducing now a new intervention. This intervention is not yet, we still do not know if it's effective or not, right? That's why it's called intervention. Gi-eksperimentuhan pa nato kay ato pang mahibalaan if it's effective or not. So in that case, for those who are in the control group, murag dili pud kay sila makaingon nga bias man, sir. Kay sila lang ang gikuan. What if the intervention is not effective? Di ba mas dihado si experimental group? So then, I agree with what Dr. Tan said that if it is found effective, unit after or chapter after or next grading period, you will implement that intervention to the other group. Okay, so di gyud siya totally makaingon ka nga it's bias because that intervention nga imong gi-introduce to the other section will still be under investigation if it's effective or not. Okay, thank you.
Because in my mind, mura na gid mig talk show dire ba no? Because in my mind is because tossing a coin. What if those who are in the experimental group, sila ang atong gi-intervention, then effective di ay? That is, actually, that is my assumption. What if katong akong nasa control group mo, to'y akong gibutang, nga intervention din, na effective dahil sila dito niya, dito sa katong giunan ako kay dili effective. Di ba pa? It's possible because we use only the coin, tossing a coin. Because sometimes in the experimental, sometimes we consider the performance of the students before we give the intervention because that is the one of the criteria.
Sige, ma'am, go.
If that is the case, sir, one intervention conducted to two different groups but with different effects, then it's good because you have a confirming one and a contradicting one. And therefore, the next research that you will do is a qualitative study to know why. What's in group 1 that makes the intervention not effective? And what is in there in group 2 that is effective? Oh, di ba?
So we are in the right track.
Or do mixed method.
Yeah, we are in the right track in the School of Education. Some of our action research, we have the mixed methods we use. We have the
Yes.
qualitative question. We have guests from Cabanatuan City. Ma'am, Doc Housing, please come join with us.
And actually, if we do mixed method design, we have to understand that there are also different approaches of mixed method design. We have the explanatory, exploratory, convergent, divergent, and even each has also different proponents, okay? We cannot just simply say that we are doing mixed method and we just mix quantity and quality, then it's already mixed. Sige,
Good
ma'am.
morning. Hello, good morning. Good morning, everyone. My query is just a clarification, at the same time a request. I'm Anna Marie Casing from the Academy Department. And in the high school, ma'am, we're having our science investigatory project. And then we've learned earlier the different types of action research. My question is, can we implement the action research as one of our science investigatory project? Or it's different?
Science investigatory project is a different context, ma'am. It's not in the social sciences. It's more on basic and applied. So they have a unique methodology, highly true experimental, and it's not more on social intervention. They're an intervention, but a very unique intervention.
Okay.
So yeah, the process, the skills that we have in doing research in quantity and quality, we can use the skills that we have. But the methods, we follow their methods.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Next question. For our grade 12 students, we are actually using mixed method research design. Our request is, can we, with the help of the CFR, can we request experts from your university to maybe enlighten us, train us, so we can also effectively train our grade 12 students for the mixed method. But my question is, can we also use the action research as our mixed method research? Because we can also use the quantity and the quality for the action research. My question is, can we use this one, action research, as a compliance, maybe a requirement output for the mixed method?
Yes, ma'am, definitely. But the method, the approach, dito lang i-change, ma'am. And the way you actually ask questions, because in the mixed method design, it depends also on the approach. Because there is this sequential explanatory in which you start with the bigger the bigger part of the research is quantity, and only quali is just a support. But the exploratory part, more on the quali part, the quantity is just a support, and you have to also provide a mixed result, just like the explanatory. The convergent, the concurrent, you do it together. The convergent is a separate also way, but in the context of action research, we can do that, but it's longer, and you have to prepare instruments for both quanti and quali data gathering. You have to validate instruments, both the quanti and the quali. Yes, we can.
So basically, it's still different than the action and the mixed method. We cannot do that one as one, or
pwede siya,
Pwede.
mag-design man siya. Action research is a type of research that is actually to solve man actual problems, di ba? But you can use methodology of quanti, pure
And quali.
quali, or mix.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Doc Kasing, because in the experimental, we have an intervention. No, in the action research, we have an intervention. But you can mix the quali and the quanti in the action research. Yeah, oo. Action, ang asa ako kay mura siya experimental. Yeah, oo. So,
Right. I guess there are no more questions from our audience. Can I give the floor now to Sir
it's not part sa ato ang phase, dire, because
I believe there is no mixed method. According to the program, there is no mixed method. However, let us hear it from
in the next cycle.
Cleofa.
Okay, good morning, everyone. So, based on the agreement of the extension, college extension, under College of Education, the ITEACH is basically for katalang this one, and for the other requests, maybe we can have it on phase 2.
Yeah.
Or if you cannot wait anymore, that we can schedule technical services to the teachers or the faculty members of MVC. Yes.
Yeah, thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you very much. For this morning session, we would like to thank our guests in our studio this morning. Thank you very much, ladies, for coming to my show this morning. To end our morning session, may I invite everyone to please stand, and we will invite Pastor Blasa to close with a closing prayer. Pastor? I know.
Okay, shall we close our eyes and bow our head for a word of prayer? Father God, we thank you for the success of our session for this morning, for the progress of our learning. We pray that you continue to bless our guests from CMU and bless each one of us as we do research for thy honor and glory. We commit your lives and our remaining activities for today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Pastor, thank you everyone. Let's go back at 1:30, but before that, picture ta. Ana ra mo? No? Oo, then diri dayon mi. Diri ta ninyo. Diri sa atubangan, diri ka Jay. Then di mo students and participants, please diri mo atubang sa stage. Okay? Mag-ano na ta?
Dapat unta kay Monday,
may I invite some of the education students and teachers from the academy, from elementary, if you can join with us here in front, please. Okay.
Ay, oh, tama. Ma'am Tess, dali ka, Ma'am Tess.
Faculty, please. Come. Katong mga faculty nga nag-join. Pastor Blasa, Ma'am Blasa. Doc Boris. Ay, Doc